Alright guys, so I typically don't do videos like this. In fact, if you look at my YouTube channel, you'll realize that it's pretty much a dead channel. The reasons for this is I don't have a computer, so anything I do make, I make on my phone. But with that being said, I really wanted to make this video. I love Twisted Metal. I recently got Twisted Metal 2, and I've been playing it on PlayStation. Now, full heads up, I probably won't have any gameplay video that I myself have made. I don't have a way to screen capture it. I don't have a good recording program. None of that. If I remember, I will try to put any kind of URLs to any videos that I do use, try to give the original creators credit. But if I miss something, and there's the off chance that you guys even watch this, because like I said, I have a dead channel, feel free to message me or comment, and I'll try to put it back in. I'll try to add it. But with that, I want to do my very first video, a Twisted Metal 2 tier list for the vehicles. So, with that being said, let's start. Yes, Twisted Metal 2. I mean, who could really even say anything bad about this game? It's one of the best games ever made. Now, with that being said, not all the cars are made equally. And that's where this thing comes in. See, I've got a list of all 14 cars listed right here at the bottom of the tier list, and I'm going to rank them from S tier to F tier, starting from the worst to the best. So, up first, we have these two dickweeds. Hammerhead is a monster truck. You would look at it and you'd think, man, that's got to be good, but take a look at the stats. With these stats, you can see it's got good armor and special, but terrible speed, and it's a big fucking target, which means that everybody's going to be shooting for you. Now, the thing with Hammerhead is that to activate its special, which is automatic, you have to kind of be going slow to do it. I think under 75 miles an hour. So with that, I just got to put it at the end. Nothing really great about it. I'm going to say this is our first failure of the list. So sorry, Hammerhead lovers, if you hate my decision here, but things can only get better if only incrementally. Up next, we do have Grasshopper, and this is a dune buggy, and you can tell kind of from its stats that it is just a mediocre car. It has good speed, but the armor and special weapon leave a lot to be desired. Honestly, with this car, if you do not use your shield before activating the special, you might as well just ram a pine cone up your ass because you're that kind of fucked. So don't worry, I'm almost out of the lower end tiers. But up next, what do you get when you take a car with really weak armor? I'm talking the weakest in the game. Give it amazing speed and a special that's supposed to be great but has the huge ability to damage you. Well, you take all that, and what do you get? What you get is the third worst car in the game. Introducing Twister. Now, this car, like I said, it is a wonderful car. It is super fast, but look at these stats. The armor sucks. I think the special weapon is being given way too much credit here, but the speed is on point. This is the fastest car in the game at the expense of the armor. This tornado special weapon can be devastating, especially if you can pop a shield, maybe drop a few remote bombs, throw a few napalms. You can really get a lot of devastation in. However, the risk that you run of hurting yourself really makes the gamble not worth it whenever you have so many safer options on the roster. While I think the idea of the car is really cool, and the idea of being able to turn into a tornado is probably the most unique special weapon that I've seen in a vehicle or combat game, I can't really say that the car is as standout as it really should be. And because of that, I'm gonna have to go with my final verdict, as sad as it is. This car, E tier. Not quite a fail, not quite the best. Okay, so we got the 3 worst out of the way, so it's only really going to get better from here. Now, my next pick, I already know, is going to be super controversial. So please, before I say it, put your torches down. Put your pitchforks down. There doesn't need to be a lynching. I don't need a stake driven up my ass. But it's just the facts of how I feel on the car. Right now, coming up, our next pick on the list is going to be the one and the only, the infamous, the mascot, Sweet Tooth. So, the thing about Sweet Tooth is he is the mascot. He's got okay armor, he's got an alright special weapon, and horrible speed. Now, the problem with Sweet Tooth is I don't think his vehicle is full of ice cream and candy and different treats for the kiddies. No, I suspect it's probably full of Molly or some other form of MDMA, perhaps ecstasy, because this vehicle loves to roll. Let somebody hit you from your side and you'll be rolling down the street. Now, when it comes to a special, it is very subpar. It does good damage, but it kind of goes in a weird zigzagging motion, and if you're not careful, it's going to go over the head of your enemy like a joke over a 5th grader's head. So with that being said, I'm going to have to, I don't know, I'm going to have to say that it's not as good as I really would have hoped. But that does not mean that I hate Sweet Tooth at all. In fact, he's one of my favorite characters in the series. It's just with how his car is, and Twisted Metal 2 in particular, I've got to rate him here at a D. Not the worst, by far, but still lots of room for improvement. So please, please don't murder me. I mean, it can be worse than having a tiny penis. Alright, so now that we're done with the killer clown and pissed off his fan base enough for me to have enough fear in my body for my sleep paralysis demons to check my closet and underneath my bed before they stalk me at night, let's move on to someone who can maybe clean up these mean streets from such homicidal maniacs. I'm talking about the one and only Outlaw. Coming in just above Sweet Tooth, we have this vixen of justice, here to redeem her younger brother, or maybe her older brother, who was duped in the last year's contest. This car has some overall basic stats. I think its stats menu gives the special more credit than what it's due. Outlaw does not really have the armor to be tanky in large groups, and so you're kind of stuck to using hit and run tactics, running by an enemy, hitting them real quick with the taser and trying to get away before they have time to launch a rocket up your ass. So kind of middle of the road, not the worst car, and really any cars within this range can kind of be interchangeable. I put them in the order that I think works, but coming in right here at the low C, just a little bit above the previous cars, we've got Outlaw. Well, with Outlaw clearing up the streets and keeping them clean, that leads us to our next character in line. Speaking of streets, this man lives on one. I'm talking about the hobo that has a no-go for you, Roadkill. This guy right here, he drives this beat up old red car. Supposedly it's pieced together, but it looks pretty pieced together to me. You can tell from the stats that it's one of those cars that once again is kind of middle of the road. Its special is actually really good if you know how to use it. It's a boomerang, and on the way out it only deals a little bit of damage, but if you can catch an enemy on its way back to you, it will deal quite a bit of damage. And so there's a little bit of skill involved when playing as Roadkill. And with this skill and the damage output that it can produce, if you get good with it, it's just enough for me to have to say, as much as people may love Outlaw and its classic design, that Roadkill is just a little bit better. It wouldn't be all the way up on the B tier, but I wouldn't say that it was going to be... Now I'm going to go with high C. It's going to be above Outlaw, but not quite at a B level. So high C, here we go. And that's that when it comes to Roadkill. Maybe he's not as insane as everybody believes. Alright, so now we're getting into the nitty gritty. You know, the better half of things. So I have to start this off by saying everything in the B tier can really kind of be mixed up and moved around as you see fit. This is just the order in which I find them useful. It may not go for everybody. And starting that off would be probably one of the contestants with the worst life I can imagine. I'm talking about Axel, the man strapped to these two giant ass wheels by his psychotic father. Well, looking at the stats, you would think that the vehicle's overall average, and you're not wrong. However, Axel has a few things that make up for these disadvantages. First off, Axel's main special is a great crowd punish tool, especially on, any kind of level with a large drop-off. I'm talking Antarctica, I'm talking New York. His special is great for pushing unsuspecting opponents off of the edge. Not to mention, for some reason, and I think it might have to do with the giant wheels, Axel has amazing ram damage. In fact, his ram damage is, I think, the best in the game. On top of all that, Axel is the only car with a secret secondary special. He essentially gets Hammerhead special, running over cars. However, it has to be activated through one of those combo commands on the D-pad, and it can be really difficult to pull off, especially in the heat of battle. But with that being said, Axel is not a bad contestant. Obviously, it's a little less armored than you would like. I mean, you are a guy strapped between two giant wheels, and because of those giant wheels, you really do become a giant target. So with that being said, I don't think Axel's bad enough to be on the C tier. He's one of the better characters, especially taking into account the ram damage. So I'm going to put him up here in B. And I think that's definitely where the Wesley Snipes Shade Man in the wheels should go. Alright guys, so we have now reached the midway point. We have 7 down, 7 to go. And if you notice, we're kind of high up on the list. That's because these next 7 cars, and really the past 8, car as well, if you want to include Axel, are all really, really good. And I think it comes down to a matter of personal opinion and how you can use them. So for my next pick, I'm going with Spectre. Now, Spectre is this beautiful Corvette. It's obviously a Corvette. I think probably like a 63 with that window. But anyways, if you look at the stats on this car, you'll see that it has abysmal armor. This thing is worse than a wet paper bag versus a toothpick. Alright, it's just whatever hits you is going to punch right on through. Now, to make up for this, Spectre is a small vehicle with a pretty cool special weapon. Its ghost missile will completely travel through the environment, walls, floors, ceilings. I mean, it might as well have molecular changing properties. It just phases through everything. And with this, it allows you to be extremely cheap with Spectre. There are certain areas in like New York and Amazonia where you can get tucked away in little areas that the AI just can't seem to find you at, but really don't leave you a shot to shoot them either. However, with Spectre's missile, its ghost missile, that's not even really a problem anymore. You can just aim in their general direction and the missile will take care of everything else. Because of that, I do think that it is definitely a B tier vehicle due to the low armor, but it's higher up on the list than Axel. And so right here with a middle of the road B, we are going with Spectre. I know the man is cool as can be, the car is as cool as can be, but I think in the grand scheme of things, there's just a few more that kind of outpace him. Very middle of the road. Alright, so now we're coming off of fast as can be and a cool ass shit weapon, however abysmal armor. And now we're going to go to the exact opposite spectrum. Slow as stampeding turtles trudging through peanut butter. Slower than a sloth shits, but with more armor and special than you can shake a stick at. We got the Grand Slam man himself, Mr. Slam. Now, take one good look at this. You see this giant yellow bobcat looking beauty? This thing is a machine of death. Fuck construction. Construction ain't got shit on what this car is about to do to your car. Look at these stats. I already told you the speed was abysmal, but look at the rest. That armor and that special. You better hope that this slow motherfucker doesn't catch you, or it's gonna be fucked 6 ways from Sunday. That your car, that is. Anyways, while I would have to say that his slow speed does seem like it would be an issue, he can tank hits like a beast, and a quick freeze missile will ensure that you are being slammed, bammed, thank you, ma'amed. Maybe even thrown off of a building in New York or off the edge of a glacier in Antarctica. Don't take this man for a fool, because even his AI will spam you with freeze missiles so it can get up close. This guy is a fan favorite. I can totally see why. I mean, who didn't like playing with Tonka trucks when they were a kid, pretending to smash up other vehicles and whatnot, little other cars they had? Honestly, Mr. Slam is probably one of the coolest vehicles that Twisted Metal has ever had. It's a shame that we only got to see him twice more, once in Twisted Metal 4 and again back in Twisted Metal Head On. But you can't beat the classic and where it all started. Coming in at the high end of the B's, Mr. Slam. But if you thought Mr. Slam was the only strong contestant this year, you're out of your goddamn mind. Well, what we have here is another contestant with amazing armor and a great special weapon, but a little bit more speed to help out with those really risky get in and get out situations. If you haven't figured it out, I'm talking about Warhog. Now, this Humvee right here is beautiful. I remember being a kid, I wanted a first generation Humvee so bad. And the fact that it has the Patriot missile on the top of it, amazing special. It's essentially Minion special minus the freeze. With that being said, Warhog is an absolute beast. He is a war machine. It is the perfect vehicle for what it does. It is able to get in, tank some hits. It's able to dish out extreme damage of its own while taking these hits. And it's got enough acceleration and speed to get away from some of the more tough vehicles. Now, if it were to go against, for example, some of the faster cars, it can be easily outsped, but good luck shooting enough missiles at this motherfucker to blow it up. He's gonna take that missile and look at you like some kind of bus who got hit with a Twinkie. It's not even gonna phase him. It's gonna be completely off the map. Anyways, so as far as Warhog goes, this is one of the top picks. Easily one of the top picks. And I don't want anybody to get, upset, because starting to go into that higher territory, and along with any of these ranks, anything that's within the same rank, anything that's within B, A, or S, it's really interchangeable and dependent on personal play styles. With that being said, Warhog is going to come in at a low A, better than the other vehicles, but I still feel like there are those that shine above and beyond what Warhog is capable of doing. Love the car. It's one of the few that have been pretty much in every game, and I can't really hate on it. It's just not the best, in my opinion. Alright, and so while a lot of cars do have to live in Warhog's shadow, this man lives in everybody else's shadow. He is the shadow. In fact, if it isn't obvious, I'm talking about Shadow. Now, the car Shadow is kind of a cool car concept. It is a purple hearse, and purple is my absolute favorite color. And so, just look at this thing's stats. I get that it may not have the best armor, but when it comes to special and speed, this thing is awesome. Now, its special is these shadows that it shoots along the ground, and it has this weird quirk where you normally do have to detonate them. You press it once to shoot out for the weapon, and then you press the weapon again to blow it up. However, if you can get the shadow to blow up under an enemy on a slope, it's going to deal massive damage. Not to mention, without going into spoilers for those of you who haven't played a 25-year-old game almost at this point, Shadow is one of the few people who actually get over on Calypso. So that's always something cool. In the end, I would have to say that with this car's speed and
the uniqueness of its special weapon and how it can deal extra damage if used strategically really sets it one level above Warhog, in my opinion. Warhog is great at being what it is, a military vehicle that is durable as shit and can get in there and fuck you up without thinking twice about it. But Shadow's more of an elegant car for a more sophisticated gamer, one who sets traps and lies in wait. This is essentially your sneaky archer from Skyrim, if it was a Twisted Metal car. And because of that, I'm going to have to say it's middle of the line, A tier. Not the worst, by far, but still towards the top, few more ahead of it. And with that being said, that's the Shadow. Alright, now that we got the Shadow Man out of the way, that leaves us with our top 3. Will our top one be A tier, or will it be the first of S tier? There's only one way to find out. Now, if you've been paying attention, you've noticed that our selectable list of characters has been steadily dropping as we've been ranking them, and not very many are left. But this guy is a real soul sucker, and I ain't talking about a foot fetish. The Grim Reaper himself, Mr. Grimm. Now take a look at this double-sided motorcycle. It's a motorcycle with a sidecar, and honestly, it's beautiful. I used to love the red paint job on it when I was a kid. I don't think I picked up that it was the Grim Reaper driving it when I was a kid, but still beautiful. Now take a look at its stats. What you're going to see is top speed, top special, and abysmal armor. We're talking Twister levels of armor, if not worse. It's going to be a tie between those two, or at least the closest race I've ever seen to who has the least amount of armor. Now, with that being said, Mr. Grimm's special, on the other hand, is one of the most devastating in the game at the expense of lacking any kind of homing ability. However, with a good freeze missile, that takes care of that. An enemy can't move if they're a block of ice. So, typically when it comes to Mr. Grimm, I like to freeze with him and then hit up with the special. I mean, you're the Grim Reaper. If you got a bunch of souls in your pocket, you might as well shove one of them up your opponent's ass loaded with dynamite. Anyways, so with that being said, one of the other great perks to Grimm is that he's a small vehicle. He can fit into those aforementioned places like in Amazonia or New York, especially New York when it comes down to the locker rooms in the pool area. He can really hide in there, and as long as he can line up a thin shot with his special, he can pick off all kinds of enemies without ever even being hit. But let's go to Holland, somewhere where there is no cover. That's where you have the speed. They can't hit you if they can't catch you. Keep moving, never slow down, and you better learn how to use that shield. But if you can master it, if you can get past this extra difficulty level playing a motorcycle in a car combat game, you're going to find one of the most rewarding and damaging characters out there. However, due to the low special and essentially being able to be crushed by cars like Axel and the boss of the game, Darktooth, I would have to give Mr. Grimm a high A. Not quite S, but really high up there. One of my favorite characters, second character I beat Twisted Metal 2 with when I played it. Absolutely love him, no hate from me, and that's what that is. Alright guys, here we are at the final stretch. You have sat through 12 of this year's contestants, however the final 2 still sit atop of the pile. So, we both know they're going to be S tiers. I'm sure if you guys know the characters of Twisted Metal 2, you know who this is down between. And there's got to be a runner-up. Alright, not everybody's going to be happy. And with that, I have to introduce the next person on our list. Thumper. Now, Thumper is one of my favorite cars. In fact, it's probably my favorite car in all of Twisted Metal. I just love this little pink lowrider. I love its special attack with the flamethrower. I mean, it's a great car. And take a look at these stats. Don't let some of the mediocre stats take away from that special. That special is devastating. If you hit an opponent with a freeze and follow it with 2 of those special weapons, they're a done deal. They can't escape. There is nothing they can do. This car is damn near overpowered. And honestly, that's how I like it. Now, with that being said, some people may say, well, it doesn't have the best armor, it doesn't have the best speed. It don't fucking matter. It can have mediocre armor and it can have mediocre speed because of how overpowered that special is. I mean, when the person who's beating this person is the person who's beating them, it should set a precedent down for how good they are in Twisted Metal 2. I mean, I'm serious. If you don't believe me, get your hands on the game and give it a try. Hit an opponent with a freeze missile. I don't care if they're Hammerhead, Warhog. Hit any of them with a freeze missile and follow it with 2 specials. If they aren't dead, they are on their last legs. I mean, this dude is roasting more motherfuckers than Keith Flint in a sewer. I mean, he's out of this world. I wish they wouldn't have nerfed him in Twisted Metal 3 and given his special away, but as far as Twisted Metal 2 goes, as far as the original cast goes, no codes, no extra characters, no anything, regardless of the stage. This man, Thumper, Bruce, not Bruce Campbell, at least not that Bruce Campbell, but Bruce. Oh, you've stolen our hearts, and it's thumping away inside of our chest. Congrats on being our first S tier. Alright guys, so here we are at the end of the list, and really, if anybody has ever played Twisted Metal, if they know the characters, especially in Twisted Metal 2, the playable ones, then it goes without saying that the fucking devil, yeah, Minion. You may not think he's the fucking devil because his name is Minion, but look at this motherfucker. He is in a literal tank. And this tank just isn't for show. It's really gonna fuck your shit up. And take a look at this tank's stats. Alright, take a look at the driver. Look at these stats. Alright, if you didn't think this was the fucking devil before, now take a good hard look on it. And let me tell you something. This motherfucker clawed his way up from hell and put on his thinking cap so he can think of all the different ways he can fuck your shit up. And what can you really do about it? Pray. Why? Because he's the fucking devil. I mean, this guy chews up puppies and spits them out like hamburger. I mean, this guy drowns kittens in puddles. He is the most brutal of the brutal. And really, if you come across him, you better kiss your ass goodbye. Really, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. The guy was the winner of the Twisted Metal tournament before Twisted Metal 1. He was the final boss then. He makes a reappearance, and as it turns out, he's where Calypso gets his fucking power. At least it's hinted at, if you want to go against Twisted Metal 1 Darkside's ending. But at the end of the day, this man is back from hell. If you can be back from hell, he's here from hell. And his job is to send you there with an ass full of explosive rockets and napalm. Enjoy your stay, and that's going to be how that goes. Top of the list goes to Minion, the one and only top dog, mad dog cat skinner, killing motherfucker. This is your man.
Alright, so with that being said, that is my tier list. I really hope you guys enjoy it. And please leave comments. Let me know what you think. It may be controversial, but this is just my opinion. Thank you.